Just go just a little bit up. You can sing with me. Om Ajnanatimrandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagara Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha. Madhurochvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Viprilamba Rasambodhe Padambhujaya Te Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. Gaura Virbhava Bhumistvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Jayatam Surata Pangur Mama Manda Matergatir Matsarvasya Padam Bhojau Radha Madan Mohano. Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadhrumada Srimad Ratnagara Sinhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestali Bhi Sevyamano Smarami. Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vanshi Vata Tatastitha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shriyesunaha. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindayai Tulsi Devyai Priyayai Keshavasya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha. Shri Narsingha Jai Narsingha Jai Jai Narsingha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहं परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्मसंस्थापनार्थाय सम्भवामि युगे युगे। मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैह्यसि युक्तव्यम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः। सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः। शुश्रूषोषद्धदानस्य वासुदेव कथारुचि स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्रः पुण्यतीर्था निषेवणात्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्थस्थो हि अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तदा रजस्तमो भावः कामलोभादयश्च ये चेत इतैरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति। एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते। भिद्यते हृदये ग्रन्थिश्छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे। माली হয় না করে সেই বীজে আরোপণ শ্রবণ কীর্তন জলে করায় সেচন তাহা বিস্তারিত হয় না ফলে প্রেম ফল ইহা মালি সিঁচে নিত্য শ্রবণাদি জল। वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुषा पुराणः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपाम्बोधिर्यस्तम् अहं प्रपद्ये। कालं नाष्टं भक्ति योगं निजं या प्रदुष्कर्तुं कृष्ण चैतन्य नामा आविर्भूतस्तस्य पदारविन्दे गाढं गाढं लील्यतां चित्तभृङ्गः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तविंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Everybody. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare। Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Okay, so welcome everybody to the Wednesday night Gita class. Those who are in the room as well as those who are watching us online. Let's give a big Hari Bol to those who are onto our online viewers. Hari Hari Bol. So before we go into the class, my name is Shradha Devi Dasi, and I want to know from you some thoughts. You have microphones in front of you on what brings you to the Wednesday evening class today.
I was traveling for a while, so I wasn't able to attend lectures for maybe weeks or even months. So this was the chance that I got, so I took it.
Okay, very good. Anybody else would like to share why they are here? If you don't know why they're here, then it's good for me. You want to tell me? Go ahead.
Actually, came here to hear from you. I mean, it's like, yeah.
Okay, good. That's honest.
Yeah,
I like it. Well, so if you are here and you have come here to hear from me, then for the next an hour and a half or maybe an hour, you will have to tolerate me. And that is actually the topic of my presentation today, that how do you tone your tolerance muscle? And if you don't have tolerance muscles, then maybe you need to develop one, right? So there are quite a few muscles in our body. Actually, they run into the count runs into millions, and they are divided into certain categories. There are skeletal muscles that join, the muscles that are joined to the skeleton, then sometimes to the skin as well. There's muscles that are inside the lining of intestines, muscles, a heart itself is a muscle, and so on and so forth. So the skeletal muscles, they say they're about between 650 to 840 is what the scientists give us a count on. And of that, among the strong muscles, there are quite a few of them, some that keep you erect and things like that. The strongest, among those strongest, the two that are very prominent and which concern us are the heart, which is a very strong muscle, as well as the tongue. And both of them work all the time, right? The heart works all the time. Since we are born till we die, it's working. And then also our tongue. And while we might think that, the tongue doesn't work while we are sleeping, right? Or if you're not talking, if you're not eating, then the tongue is not working. The tongue is actually constantly working, and it is pushing the saliva back to your throat. So these two muscles actually work all the time. So you ever came across a situation where you had to use your tolerance muscle? Tarun Prabhu is nodding his head very rigorously. Yeah, actually, this whole material world is such a horrible place that you have to keep tolerating something every now and then. Okay, so if you look at the meaning of the word tolerate means to allow or to be done without any prohibition. So like parents are tolerating the kids like that, any hindrance, any contradiction. And then more importantly, it's used at number B, which is to put up with or learn to tolerate one another, right? And that's the focus of the lecture today. And then the second is also to endure or resist the action of something. For example, lactose. I'm lactose intolerant, means if I drink milk, then I have trouble with my stomach and things like that. People are not tolerant to certain drugs. People are not tolerant to chemotherapy treatments and things like that. So now that we know what toleration is, we need to just ask the question that what is there in it for me? Why do I have to tolerate? Right? Can I not just have my way? Right? So that's the question. Why tolerate? So actually I went and surfed the internet to see what do people think about why you should tolerate. And I was very surprised that for the first 100 entries were not to do with tolerating at all. It was just constantly telling you that why you should not tolerate this, why you should not tolerate that, and so on and so forth. I was like, oh my goodness, should I change the topic of my presentation? And change it to, why you should not be tolerating all these things. But anyway, then the wise sages came a little, down the query. And so there are a few quotes that I found which I liked. So I'm sharing those with you here. So William Allen White, he's actually a politician and an author. And he says that since others have to tolerate my weaknesses, it is only fair that I should tolerate theirs. So he's pretty a good guy, good at heart. Well, tit for tat, and mutually. I scratch my back, you scratch my back, like that. Then Amy Morin, she's a psychotherapist, and she said very wisely that more you practice tolerating uncomfortable emotions. Can you tell me some uncomfortable emotions? Ever had any uncomfortable emotion? You have to use the mic because we have audiences online.
Like being wrong about something.
Being wrong about something, good. Any other uncomfortable emotion that made you feel uncomfortable? Right now you're comfortable? If you're not, then then you can tell me.
Being angry.
Being angry is an uncomfortable emotion, right? So the more you practice tolerating uncomfortable emotions, and we'll talk more about some more examples of uncomfortable emotions, the more confident you will become in in your ability to tolerate the distress. And what happens by that is that tolerating that distress might be necessary for you to reach your full potential. You might not know what you're worth. You might not know what you are capable of doing, right? So it's only through when you are tolerating it, there's a lot of heat that is generated. And gold, actually gets better when you show some heat to it. So, did any of these happen to you? Have you ever been misunderstood, neglected, or insulted, right? So these are uncomfortable emotions that you go through in life, right? So what should we do if we come across a situation like this? So there's a very interesting figure there. Dr. Harry Monson from Chicago, Illinois, he did a math, and he said if you were to take all the chemicals and the minerals in your body, then the human body is worth only $7.28. Which is an up actually from 98 cents, which it was there in 1969. So the value did go up, but that's what it is worth. And if you go back and see that, misunderstanding, being neglected, being insulted. I mean, who is insulting? Did anybody come and insult your soul this morning? Right? All these are coming, all these distresses and all these uncomfortable emotions are coming because we think that we are this body. And what is this body worth? Why are you investing so much in something which is only $7.28 worth of it, right? So that's one reason that you should just tolerate when you come across these things. And from the spiritual perspective, Vaisheshika Prabhu tells us that tolerating these situations when you're neglected, you're misunderstood, or when you're insulted, it actually increases your chid rakta. So chid rakta is actually your spiritual blood. So you have a physical, you have a material body, this that we can see, right? The gross body. And then there is a material body that you cannot see, which is called as your material body that you cannot see is called what? There's one word for it.
Subtle body.
Subtle body, right? So it's called a subtle body. And the subtle body is made up of your?
Mind, intelligence and false ego.
And false ego. Very good, right? So so that's your material body. And then there's a there is a spiritual body as well, which will have, your features and it'll have blood, etc. So when you tolerate being misunderstood and neglected and insulted, actually your spiritual blood increases, right? So there's a lot of scope there. And good things coming out for us there. So Vaisheshika Prabhu actually writes and sends out these what are known as Shravanadi Jal notes. And it is Shravan and Shravan Jal. So basically it's referring to the creeper of your devotional service. Like if we equate the devotional service to a creeper, then it needs to be watered, right? Just like any creeper, you have to nourish it and you have to give it nourishment, so you have to put some water in it. So similarly, the creeper of your devotional service also requires water. And that water comes from Shravan Adi, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Path Sevanam, all those things, the 9 items. So Shravan Adi Jal. So every now and then he sends us something nice over email. And so he had written a particular Shravan Adi Jal item on tolerating it. So that is my inspiration for today's presentation. And I will be referring to some of the things that he said on there in that. So I'd like to thank him for continuously sending these wonderful gems our way and for inspiring me to choose this topic for today's presentation. So when he talks about when he talks about tolerating, he says, like Amy, he says that as with practitioners of any other skills, right, those who consciously take up the practice of tolerance develop a greater capacity for it. So the more you practice it, the more your capacity is going to increase. It's kind of like your stomach. If you start eating, then the stomach is very flexible. It'll adjust a lot. If you overeat, it'll just expand and expand and expand and expand. Some people get into the habit of eating so much that their stomachs have to be stitched, and made into a smaller size. So, the greater capacity. So the more you use it, the greater the capacity becomes. So similarly, if you are tolerating and you get into the practice and habit of tolerating, then your capacity to tolerate also increases. So that's one gem that he said. And this was wonderful, very true to his style. He says that unlike the practice of many other talents, so give me an example of any other talent that you might like to practice. Tarun Prabhu, you are full of talents, tell me. Any talent that you practiced? There are 2 Taruns sitting on one side of the room. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Mother, what is the question?
Yeah, the question is that give me an example of any talent that you practiced. Any talent that you practiced so that you could acquire.
Talent.
Or skill.
Coding skill.
Coding skill, okay, good, coding skills. And the other Tarun Prabhu.
What is the question? I didn't get that.
Any skill that you practiced
Talent that you practice.
recently.
Talent that I practice?
Yeah, skill.
Anything that you practice? To whom you?
On work, I'm a software engineer. But
Yeah, other than work. I know you do a lot of things other than work.
I actually like to do a lot of construction work and anything around the home. Small stuff. Or even at home, any repair or anything comes, I never called anyone.
You do it yourself. So you're a
Yeah.
fix-it-yourself guy.
Yeah.
Good. So here, then here, what he says is that unlike the practice of many other talents, right? For example, if you want to learn how to play the harmonium, you want to learn how to paint, you want to know how to sing, and so on and so forth. You need, you have to go buy something, register into a course like coding skills. Yeah, you had to go to college to get those skills and things like that, right? So he's saying that unlike the practice of many other talents like that, one needn't go anywhere or buy anything because ample opportunities to exercise one's toleration muscles, they come unsought. Do you guys agree with this or not? Shradha is nodding her head vehemently, right? You don't have to go, it'll come on its own. Somebody outside will do something to you, and then you will be like, oh goodness, right? So they will come on their own. So the first step, what do? They have come uninvited, right? Somebody comes and is rude, somebody insults you, somebody neglects you. We didn't go and tell them, like, can you please neglect me today? They come on their own, they do it on their own. So what is the first step? I need to tolerate that, right? I need to flex my tolerance muscles. So the first step, he says, is that you have to welcome the disturbances when they arise. Don't get too worked up. I mean, I still remember 5 or 6 years ago, I used to be in a lot of pain because I still have permanent injuries to my hands from working on the computer. And it was the pain was so horrible that if I couldn't even turn on the bed because, I would have shooting pains going up both my arms, my shoulders and things like that. And they gave me painkiller medicines and they would not help. And then the doctor said, I have a very good new painkiller that has come into the market. Would you like to try that? And I was like, yeah, anything to get rid of this pain. It's killing me. So she gave me that pain and that medicine reacted. So obviously I was not tolerant towards that medicine. And then I had severe pain in my stomach also, excruciating pain there. So then I had to resort to non-conventional medicines like acupuncture and things like that. So I went to the acupuncturist. Somebody said, go there. And I went to the acupuncturist and she had the needles. So that was another source of pain. So, I did not know what acupuncture was till the first needle was put into me. And I thought, everybody said that, the needle don't hurt, but they do hurt you. So after she put this first needle, I would not allow her to put the second one. And believe me, for these treatments, they put at least 50 to 60 needles inside you. So I would not allow her, and I would be in a lot of pain. And anyway, I had a wonderful doctor, and she, she put all the needles. She convinced me that I should have the needles. And every time that there was a pain, she could feel that my muscles would go very tight, and I would react to it. And then she said something which was so new to me. She said, embrace your pain. Don't resist it. Embrace your pain, right? So similarly here, whenever these kind of disturbances, they arise in your life, just welcome them as they arise. And then there's a nice quote from Dalai Lama. It says that in the practice of tolerance, one's enemy is the best teacher, right? Who else can teach you? Who else is going to neglect you, insult you, right? Ignore you? Than the enemy. So Queen Kunti actually prays to Krishna in the prayers to Queen Kunti in the first canto, 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And she's praying because Krishna is leaving and she's unhappy he's leaving, and she's, over a series of verses, she, praises Krishna, and then she is thanking Krishna for all that he has done for their family. For example, her kids were, the Kauravas had tried to burn them alive. They had tried to give them a poison cake. They had tried to undress their wife and things like that. So she's thanking Krishna for all that. And then she says that, the key words here, that Vipada Santuta Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsyad Apunar Bhava Darshanam. So keywords here are Vipada and Shashvat. Right? What is Vipada? Calamities, right? And Shashvat? Use the microphone. Please.
Eternal.
Eternal, always, right? Yeah, that's one meaning of that. So here Vipada is calamities and Shaswat is again and again. Yeah, again and again, or again and again basically means eternal. It's happening again and again, so it's happening forever to you, like that. Right, so she says, I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. Right? So look at the wonderful way she's looking at a negative thing and turning that into a positive. Right? So every time that a calamity is coming, every time that you feel that a situation has come that you're not able to tolerate, then look at that as an opportunity to turn to Krishna and ask for his help. Look at that as an opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, to to bring the tempers down, like that. So let's go and look at the purport for this, and I think I have that up and running somewhere. And all right, I don't. So let me bring it up. And I think I was on 25. Was I doing 25? Yeah, 25. Okay. Right. Would somebody like to read the purport for me? Yeah, go ahead.
Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nations, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hoofs of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with the place where there is danger in every step. This material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. Less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities without knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. They have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and without trace of calamity. The duty of the sane person, therefore, is to be undisturbed by worldly calamities, which are sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritual realization because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities. Therefore, the so-called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger and there is no suffering. It is simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a step forward on the path going back to Godhead.
Thank you. So what is the mission of human life from this? Microphone. The mission of human life, as Prabhupada explains to us in the purport.
So this verse is saying to, she's repeating, the calamities come again and again, and the same bhava she is using to, if we see you again and again, we will not come back to this world, but basically go back to Godhead. I think that is the purpose of human life.
The main mission is to go back, right?
Yes.
And then here Prabhupada says that or in other words, to make progress in spiritual realization is the mission of human life, and going back to Godhead is the ultimate in the progress that you make there. Yeah. Okay, good. And then what is good luck, real good luck? When is one really lucky here?
To get in contact with the devotional service of the Lord.
When you get in contact with the devotional service of the Lord, right? So if that is at the back of the mind, of our minds, then it becomes easy to handle things, right? So let's go further and see where we are going with this. So then, okay, so all said about when you have got situations where it is difficult to tolerate and everybody says that you tolerate, it's good, it'll bring out the good potential. So then Vaishnaga, when he was in Japan, he recounts the tale there. So he goes to Japan every year, two times, and once with Satyadev Prabhu, who is his god brother. And they have to travel, they go to various cities in Japan, and in as they had to go from one city to another city, they had to be in a car, somebody was driving them, and there was a little boy. And he was very annoying. He would fidget all the time. He would roll down the car windows. He would start singing, start talking, and interrupt in between. And like he was a nuisance, so to speak. Right. So he says that at first both Satyadev Prabhu and Vaishnaga Prabhu, they felt very, very frustrated with this particular boy. Right. And then they said, okay, fine. This is our chance to practice tolerance. It's a practice. Everything is a practice. It doesn't come naturally to us, right? So it is a chance to. And then what happened was that as they went into that, okay, we'll just ignore him, or we'll smile back at him, or we'll talk to him politely, no matter what he does. And they then started feeling that there was a calm and a peace that was descending in their hearts, right? And then they noticed the change in their countenance, the change in their behavior. So they actually then considered the little boy as the guru. They nicknamed him their guru because he taught them the art of, practicing tolerance like that. So it helped. It helps. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 13th chapter, where Krishna is talking what is knowledge, right? There's a big list of things that he does, and he lists tolerance also as one of the items that make up knowledge, right? If you don't know how to tolerate, then you have no knowledge, right? So tolerance, actually in that list, I have the whole list here in front of you, and tolerance actually is fourth up there, starting with humility, pridelessness, non-violence, and tolerance. So it's pretty high in the list over there. Then we have the famous verse from 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 14th verse, right? So he says, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Shayana Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Let us all sing this together, right? Martu sparshastu kaunteya sitoshana sukha dukkha agam apaniyo nityas tam titikshasva bharata. So which word do you think means tolerate? The one, yeah, tell me.
Titikshava.
Titikshava, tam titikshava, yeah, that's the word that means tolerate, right? So titikshava. Did she Apara tell us the right thing? Titikshava, just try to tolerate, right? That's what it says. Okay. And then he says, actually in the purport he says, but we'll sing this verse also. Yam hi nyavyatyante te purusham purusha rishabha sama dukkha sukham dhiram so amritvaya kalpate. And here is Amritaya. Amritvaya means for liberation. Kalpate is considered to be eligible. So if you learn how to tolerate, then you become eligible for liberation from this material bondage. Okay. And somebody wants to read it for me?
O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
Certainly eligible, right? So certainly. So he's giving a guarantee there. Now here's another interesting gem from the same Shramanadi Jal, where Vaishnaga Prabhu is saying that one who practices tolerance gains a unique perspective to see how circumstances come and go. Right? Once you get into that habit of tolerating it, after some time it just goes. That circumstance will go. The person who is insulting you might get a transfer and be out of the job, or might go move to another city, or like that. People just go away, or they change. Right? So once you're into the habit, because you are tolerating, so you're really looking for when it is going to end, when will this ordeal be over for me? You're looking for that, right? So as you practice it and you keep on doing it over and over for different circumstances with different people, you will realize that nothing is permanent in this material world, whether it is good or whether it is bad. Both of them, both the situations, all kind of situations just go away. Like if you look at this picture, so there is a blooming tree, right? And then after some time it will give you fruits, and then the leaves will fall down, it will become barren, and then the spring will come again leaves will be there, again fruits will come. So it keeps on happening over and over and over again. So nothing remains permanent in this material world. So there's a very famous poem which is called Dior's Lament. So Dior, it was an Anglo-Saxon, and he wrote a poem in a different language. But one of the things that he did was he had many paragraphs in that poem, and at the end of every paragraph it was, that passed away, this may too. So that's basically telling you that nothing is permanent in this life and in this material world. For example, it talks about that there's a lady who was lamenting that 7 of her brothers had died. So she's lamenting. And then next day she realizes that she's herself with a child. And then she's saying, that passed away. My brothers passed away, and this may too, that my child may also pass away. So it's kind of very deep philosophical thing, right? So that passed away, this may too. But that's a very good way, it's a very good anchor for us when we are in the process of trying to tolerate something, because this will also pass away. This thing will also go away. And then he also sees that he is not the master of them. All these circumstances, these insults, these neglects, the bad words, whatever, misdeeds, whatever come across to you, you did not invite them, and nor can you control them. Only thing that you can control is try to control yourself and try to control your reaction. So there will be action that somebody does, right? So there is an action, and then for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, right? So a person slaps and we slap him back. But between action and reaction, you have the freedom to choose, right? And you have this, distress will come. That is guaranteed. In this material world, distress will come. Somehow or the other it will come. But you have a choice whether you want to be miserable or not. And most of the times when insults are coming, if you just sit down and you keep thinking about that, that person insulted me, and then I was in the party and he completely ignored me, or she completely ignored, and I smiled at her and she didn't smile back. And these things can keep on going over and over in your head again and again and again and again, because the mind is there, and all that it has to do is to generate those thoughts again and again, again and again, again and again, right? But the thing is that whatever a person did to you happened in the past, it is gone, it is done. You can't go and change it, right? Similarly, if you're afraid of something, that this person did this and now he's going to do something more, or she's going to do something more. So now you're scared of it, so now you're looking into the future. But there's nothing that you can do about something that's going to happen in the future. Whether that person will be rude to me again or not, there's no point worrying about it. Or somebody insulted you in the meeting, and is he going to insult me again at the meeting tomorrow, like that? There's no point worrying of it. The only thing that you can do is, as you are being insulted in the present, that's the only battle that you can fight. The only battles that you can fight are the battles, the present battles. You can't fight the battles in the past. They are done. The result is already out. And for the future, there's no point. The war has not yet begun, right? So as we learn to tolerate all these, we also notice that we are not the master of them, right? And then it says that admitting that I am not the supreme controller is not only a foundation, not only a foundation for you to advance in the spiritual life, because when we come to the conclusion that Vasudevam Sarvamiti sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, right? Otherwise what happens? Ahankara Vimudatma Karta Hamiti Manyate. Things that I am the controller, I do everything, and when things don't happen according to you, there's frustration. When people don't do according to what you want to do, there's frustration there, right? But what I really liked is where he says that it is also a great relief. Do you think it's a great relief to know that you're not the controller? Why is it a relief? Yeah, tell me.
You relieved of a lot of duties.
You are relieved of all the duties, yeah, or a lot of the responsibilities. You had something to add? Yeah.
When you know you're not the controller, you don't have to control this.
You don't have to control. Yeah, there you go. So the act itself, it just gets out of your plate. So, with me, Prakrite kriya madhani gune karmani sarvasah ahankara vimuratma kartaham iti manyate. So, the spirit soul is bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by 3 modes. Come on, shout it out. 3 modes of the material nature, and they are, what are the 3 modes of material nature? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. So over here you see the 3 ladies are there. There's goodness, there's passion and ignorance, and the soul who thinks that, I am the doer is actually a puppet in the hands of the 3 modes of material nature. Right? So that's why things happen on their own and you have absolutely no control over them. But remember, the good news is that Krishna is on top of that, right? If you turn and face towards Krishna, then you still have some chances of having control on that. So then what do the bhakti yogis do in this case? We just talked about that. So bhakti yogis take these disagreeable happenings in our lives as opportunities to follow Krishna's advice. In doing so, they not only endear themselves to Krishna by voluntarily accepting his instruction, they also develop their tolerance muscle. Right? So this is like if you don't have the muscle, you develop it. If you have it, then you have to tone it. Right? Otherwise the muscles have a tendency to degenerate. Then we have Bhagavad Gita 5.23. What is 5.23? Are we reading chapter 5 these days? For Chad, right? Shaknoti haiva yashodam praksharira vimokshanaha. Okay, akama krodha bhayo vega. I think we all should read that because it's a very nice verse. I'll bring it up on the screen here for all of you. 5-23. Very, very powerful verse here. Okay, together. Shaknoti haiva yashodham praksharira vimokshanat kamakrodha bhaya dvega. Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that I need to get out of the show. It's for you to see. Sorry about that. Okay. Up on the screen? Okay, one more time. Shaknoti haiva yashodham praksharira vimokshanat kamakrodhodbhavam vegam sayakta sa sukhi naraha. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Okay? So before we giving up this present body, if we don't do that before we give this present body, what happens? Why are we saying that we should practice this while we have this present body? What's the problem there? If I don't practice it, I'll die, right? Then the situation will be gone. Where is the problem?
You get one more body.
You'll get one more body. Yes, you'll get one more body, right? And the subtle body will be carried to the new gross body. And whichever way you have been reacting to these various situations, you'll continue to do that unless you do some cleansing beforehand. Okay. So let's go back to our slide there. So then let's look at it from the spiritual perspective, that what is there in it for me, from tolerating, what happens to my, right? So those who practice tolerance not only become spiritually wise, they please Krishna. Anybody wants to please Krishna? You want to please Krishna? Okay, good. For the records, everybody raise their hands in the classroom. The Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship and equalities. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 11th chapter, 13th verse is there. Okay, and what does it say? Titikshaya karunaya metra chakhila jantushu samatvena chat sarvatma bhagavan samprasidati. Right, samprasidati. So titikshaya, we know, is by tolerance, and samprasidati becomes very satisfied. Right, so Bhagavan becomes very satisfied. So then also in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we come across tolerance, where Krishna is, Arjun asks Krishna about who is better, those who worship the impersonal or those who worship the personality of Godhead. And Krishna point blank says that those who worship the personality are better. And then he talks about some of the steps in which you can become a perfect devotee of the Lord, right? And if you can't do that, then what are the other options that are available? And then he goes on to describe some of the properties of, starting from verse 13, of a devotee, right? And so he says, one who is not envious but is a kind friend to Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, that verse, Maitra Karuna Evacha, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed in me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So if we develop our tolerant muscle or tone it right, then we become very dear to Krishna. He likes it. He likes people who are tolerant there. Right? And an interesting thing over here is that one who does not think himself a proprietor. Proprietor means I own. So sometimes it might happen that I might think that I own my kids, or I own my team at work, or own my country, like that. And then because I own some people, or I own my spouse, because I own them, then I expect a certain behavior. Or people sometimes even think they own their friends. And so we might expect a certain behavior from them, right? And when that behavior is not forthcoming, then it's very difficult to tolerate that relationship. Okay? So, but here it is saying that, if you don't think yourself a proprietor, half of your problem is solved. Right? Or, if you're free from false ego, it's the false ego that makes you think that you're this body. And all these problems of neglect and this and that come because of that false ego that is coming, right? So following, these words will ultimately lead to a better muscle. So does tolerance have a limit? And then also put in other words, should there be a limit to tolerance? What are your thoughts on that? Shradha is nodding her head vigorously. So tell us what your thoughts are.
Like there was a limit to how Arjuna tolerated the Kauravas, and if he had gone on tolerating it, it wouldn't have been fair.
It wouldn't have been fair. Yes, good. Good. So here's an example of tolerating, and we might think of emulating it. So this is the 5-year-old Dhruva Maharaj, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam tells you about what are the things that he tolerated. So he was a 5-year-old son of King Uttanpad through his first wife, Sunuti. But king also had another wife, Suruchi, and Suruchi was king's favorite, and she had a son called Uttam. And one day Uttam was sitting on the lap of his father. The mother, Suruchi, was also sitting there. And Dhruv, being a young boy of 5 years old, wanted to go and sit on the lap of his father. And so he climbed on the lap of the father where the other son was already there. And so Suruchi very sarcastically tells him not to do that, and said that if you really want to be capable and considered to sit on his lap, then you should actually pray to Krishna that you be born from my womb. So Dhruva Maharaj was devastated by these statements, and he goes to his mom, and the mom says, yeah, you know what your stepmom is saying is actually true, because that's where the situation is, that she's the favorite queen. And so he gets very angry, and he wants to have a kingdom better than his father and grandfather and so on and so forth. So he goes out, and on the way he meets Narad Muni, and so Dhruva Maharaj is very angry because he could not tolerate the words of his mom, right? So Narad Muni then tells him that, you know what, you're just a 5-year-old boy, and if you think that you're a small boy, then what's the big deal? Parents scold kids all the time. And kids, they are scolded 1 minute and they come back and talk to you another minute, and they'll ask for food or toffee or chocolate or something like that. So kids take insults very easily, very, very easily. So what's the big deal? We just forget about it, right? And then he said, well, if you think that you're an adult at the age 5, then you should understand the situation. As an adult, understand the situation that the king has a favorite wife. So why would he treat you properly, So either ways you should tolerate. But then Dhruva Maharaj says that I am a Kshatriya, and the words that you're saying are meant for Brahmanas, I want revenge. He wanted revenge. He was in no mood to tolerate. So then Narad Muni gives him a mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and he says, okay, now you go to Vrindavan, that area, one of the, I think Madhuban is where he goes, in Mathura, and go and pray to the Lord. So what did 5-year-old Dhruva tolerate? Right? So we'll go around in the classroom and use a microphone, and each one can start reading one of the things. Yeah. So we'll start from the first row. Yeah, please read, Anju. Yeah.
For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries on every third day, only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right? So in how many, was he eating every day? Every third day, right? He was eating every third day. And how long did he do that? For about a month. So what was he tolerating?
Hunger.
Hunger, yes. He was tolerating hunger. So all the 6 months he's tolerating that, right? Then let's see, he bumps it up a little bit more. Yeah.
In the second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only every 6 days, and for his eatables he took dry grass and leaves. Thus he continued his worship.
Right, so 6 days now. And what is he tolerating? Same thing, one thing more. See, earlier he was eating berries, now he is eating grass. So he's also tolerating the bad taste. Like grass tastes good? Not for human beings, right? Okay. Oops, sorry. Yeah, third month.
In the third month, he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by selected verses.
Right. So now, if you just drink water, then you will be weak also, right? Weakness will set in. You're not having any solid foods, right? Is that right? We have a doctor in the class. You should tell us. If you don't have solids, you feel weak, right? Okay. So that's what. He's tolerating that as well, on top of everything. Fourth month. Tarun Prabhu, give us the fourth month.
In the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of the breathing exercise, and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right? So you can see how he's continuing to tolerate like. Okay. Then fifth month, what did he do?
By the fifth month, Maharaj Dhruva, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands, without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahman.
On the Parabrahman. So you notice that he has been doing things for 4 months, tolerating so many things, and see how powerful he has become by this time, by just controlling his senses, right? And tolerating the urges that were there. And then doing that, he is now able to concentrate. So once you control your senses, you're able to concentrate your mind on the Lord.
He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind, without diversion to anything else, upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Of Godhead, right? So without deviation or any diversion. Okay. Then what happened?
When Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities, the 3 worlds began to tremble.
So what is the thing that is most striking in this verse? What struck you most in this verse about Dhruva? Go ahead, use the microphone, Prabhu. You switch it on, please.
Capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes, that's the most important thing. He captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead. just by tolerating all this. So first he became controller of himself, right? And not his senses. He controlled all his senses. So he became the controller. And now, progressing, he actually captured the heart of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, of course, Supreme Personality of Godhead comes in later on. And grants him, a lot of good things there. But the main thing that I wanted to point out was, how just by tolerating he's able to achieve such heights. So has tolerance got a limit? I mean, you can see different people have got different capacities of tolerating things, but these capacities can increase by practice, right? And then also, it is not that we should be tolerating limitlessly, because in some cases we have to be intolerant, okay? And we'll talk about that. So this martial arts Shad, he is, he's a screenwriter for comedies, and so he has a sense of humor. So what he says is that, and when I give a lecture, I accept that people look at their watches. But what I do not tolerate is that when they look and raise it to the ear to find out if it stopped or not. So obviously he's talking about the old days when the watches were like that. So I found it so funny that I thought, I'll share that with you here in the class. But when you're talking, and as a teacher sometimes has to tolerate, because different students will have a different speed of grasping the content that you're trying to convey, right? And some will be, sometimes you have to also tolerate a difference of, a cultural difference. For example, when I first came here to USA, I had a job teaching about my company's products to people. And they would come in the class, and I was coming from an Indian background where if you're a teacher, you're a guru, and you spoke, and the students listened, and they never questioned you. And here's the product, here is how it works. And then when I came here to this country, it was completely different way of teaching. It was more like asking students the questions and getting their opinion on what do you think about this and what do you think about that. And it's like, did you pay $2,500 to come and tell me about what you think about my product? Like that. I mean, here you are, you have come to a teacher, you should be sitting down quietly and you should listen to all I have to tell you. But then as a teacher, when they put me into teachers training, I had to learn that, right? So teachers also have to tolerate the cultural difference that I was like completely gone crazy when a student sat in the classroom and lifted his legs and put them on the decks. He had done completely not done from the part of the world that I come from. Right? In contrast, when one of my American friends went to Japan and she was teaching a course over there in Japanese, she was like, there are students over there, they don't ask any questions. They're just quiet all the time, and I give them a lab to do, and if they're stuck in the lab, they will just keep quiet. And I remember, during the labs, they were always like, Sandy, 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 that was my name. Sandy, 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 come here, like that, all over there, they were asking. And over there, and she was a curriculum writer, so she had gone there, and she was saying that after observing the difference in the culture there, she was able to write the curriculum in such a manner that when people are there from a different part of the world, they're reading the same curriculum and they're following instructions in the lab. The instructions have to be absolutely clear and well written so that the students who keep quiet don't, get frustrated because they're never going to ask the teacher. So there's a lot of, tolerance also about taking and accepting that there are things that are wrong in whatever I did and accepting our mistakes, tolerating ourselves is also an art. Then is there a limit to tolerating? We had our wonderful Chaitanya Charan Prabhu who came a few weeks ago, and I really, really liked what he said was that, yes, tolerate is the first step. You tolerate, but you can't. And in certain cases, you should not. And then you try to go and mitigate whatever is the situation there, right? So you will go maybe to a senior and complain or discuss, or maybe sit with the other person, discuss. If that doesn't lead to anything good, then you go to a senior and then try to resolve it. And if it still doesn't get resolved, maybe it's time for you to leave, emigrate, get out of that situation. You always have the choice, right? So that is why, in this material world, you first learn how to tolerate, right? Tolerate, but you can't because it keeps on coming. This is dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is full of misery. This place is full of misery. Abrahma bhumna loka, right? And then you try to mitigate. You say that, okay, if I do this, or maybe let me do some yagya, and maybe I'll pacify the demigods and things like that. But then death starts coming, or old age starts coming. What do you do there, right? So then the best plan is to immigrate, try to immigrate to the spiritual planets. Not keep on coming back over here and say, okay, I will develop my tolerance muscles to the extreme, like that, right? So that exit plan should also be there. So what not to tolerate? What is it that you should not be tolerating? You gave one example of atrocities, right? Any other things that you should not tolerate? So I give you an example from the pranati that we did today, Mangalarcharan prayers that we did. So there's a pranati to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in that description we say, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So he says that to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You are the deliverer of the fallen souls, and you do not tolerate any statement which is against the teachings of devotional service, as enunciated by Rupa Goswami. Because we are Rupanugas, we follow Rupa Goswami, right? So if somebody is trying to tell you something which is against that, we don't tolerate that. So it's not that we should be completely tolerating everything. If certain things are wrong, then you have to raise your concerns there. You should not tolerate the blasphemy of your spiritual master. So sometimes you might come across a group of people are there and they're criticizing a spiritual master, and you go there and you join the group, right? So if you are a junior person there and you think it's not Vaishnava etiquette to correct them, then you just can say, I'm getting a call, and you leave, right? Otherwise, if you're in a position that you can talk and correct them, you do correct them. You just don't tolerate on that kind of a thing. Blasphemy of the Lord, right? That's also something that you should not be tolerating, other than, the usual things like extremes of cruelty, extremes of misbehavior. Those have to be mitigated as well. Now, who are the real tolerators? Who are the ones who really, really tolerate things? So here's a nice description. And this is by Dave Rubin. He's a political commentator, and he hosts a talk show. And he says that those who only tolerate people they agree with or like are not the real tolerators. So toleration has now become a little bit tough. Right? I get along with my spouse, that's fine. I love him, or I love her. It's okay, I will tolerate. That's easy. That's very easy. But to tolerate those ones that you don't really like, that is the difficult part. That is the more difficult part to do, and that is going to give you more ounces of Chidrakta when you do that kind of a toleration there. Then I'm not going to go very deep into this, but I want you to take this as a thought, something to think about. And this is Jane Rule. She's from Canada, and she writes fiction novels. And she says that human beings tolerate what they understand that they have to tolerate. They understand that they have to tolerate, right? So that understanding has got to be there. If that understanding doesn't go, then we react immediately. Then there is what is known as the paradox of tolerance. So I've been telling you that, we should be tolerating, but there's something very interesting, again, something you can mull over later on is, from Karl Popper. And it was in 1945 that he came up with this paradox. He says that if a society is tolerant without limit, and that's why I was asking the question that, how much should we tolerate? Its ability to be tolerant will eventually be seized or destroyed by the intolerant. It's a very, very, very deep thing. If you're continuously being tolerant, right, then your ability to continue in that position of being able to tolerate everybody will get seized, it will be destroyed. Why? Because the other party will become more and more and more and more atrocious. They will drag you to beyond your limit. So then he says that, his conclusion is that in order to maintain a tolerant society, the society must be intolerant of the intolerance. So not all the intolerance, and that's what we also say, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was tolerant of so many things, but not of anybody who went against the teaching of Rupa Goswami, right? Like that. So you'll have to have certain things there. Does God tolerate? Yes, He tolerates us all the time. Okay, good, yes. So let's see. So God is there inside us as the super soul, right? And I think that's where He has to do the most of the toleration. So there's a verse in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Upadrishta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Parmatmeti chapi ukto Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. Okay. And what does that mean? Keywords are Upadrishta and Anumanta. Okay. Upadrishta means overseer, Anumanta is permitter. So, yet in this body there's another transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter and is known as the super soul. So super soul has to tolerate, because you keep on thinking about various kinds of things and you want to do this and you want to do that. You have this thought and you have that thought, and ultimately the super soul has to sanction that. So how much of, even if you're doing wrong things, he is the ultimate sanctioner, right? And he will be sanctioning that to you, because he knows that whatever he's sanctioning, permitting, whatever you're going to suffer or you're going to enjoy, ultimately that will lead to some sort of a spiritual advancement ultimately, right? So he's there constantly there enjoying us, right? Then in 11.44, when Krishna of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna shows his universal form to Arjun is really scared, really scared there, right? And then he starts praying to Krishna. So in this 44th verse, he says that you are the supreme Lord to be worshipped by every living being, and thus I fall down to offer my respectful obeisances and ask for your mercy. And then what does he say about tolerance? He says, as a father tolerates the impudence of his son, or a friend the impertinence of a friend. So he was usually treating Krishna as his friend, right? So friends need not be respectable to each other. So they can behave in an impertinent or a rude manner. So as a friend, the impertinence of a friend, or a husband, the familiarity of his wife. Please tolerate the wrongs I may have done for you. Right? So Arjuna is actually praying to Krishna to say that, please tolerate me. But does God always tolerate? He doesn't, right? So in the Mahabharata war, right? So Krishna was not fighting the war. That was one of the promises he had kept, that he will not fight the war. He'll just be the chariot driver for Arjuna. And Bhishma Pitama wanted to break that promise of him, and so he fights a very severe war, and he has Arjun covered from all angles and all aspects that, if Krishna would not have intervened, then Arjuna would have been killed by Bhishma Pitama, because Bhishma Pitama was a bigger warrior. So then what does Krishna do? He takes out the wheel from his chariot and he goes and attacks Bhishma. So Krishna takes care. Kaunteya pratijanehi name bhaktya pranashyati. So if the atrocities on his devotees are becoming too much, then he doesn't tolerate. Can you give me an example of another situation where he did not tolerate atrocity? All right. Your hand went up very fast. So tell me.
Lord Nrsimhadev.
Lord Nrsimhadev, yes, exactly. When Hiranyakashipu was doing all kinds of atrocities on Bhakta Prahlad, then he comes out of a pillar, and then he tears him asunder and pulls out his intestines and wears it as a garland around his neck. Now, how bad is that? But he was, taking care of his devotee. Then Shishupal, right? So Shishupal is a classic example of toleration, where he had a limit set. He had his predefined, right? 100 offenses of yours, I will tolerate. And the moment you go and do the 101, there you go, I will cut off your neck. And that's what he did, right? When Shishupal did that. So God tolerates to a certain extent, but then beyond that, he will not do that. Then also Arjun, it says to Krishna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he's giving all reasons for why he should not fight this war. He's telling that, even if I win this war, then how will I ever enjoy all the spoils of this war? Because all my relatives will be dead, right? So he's saying that. And then in the purport, Prabhupada says that, but Krishna is not going to allow Arjun to not fight the war, because he really wanted all the miscreants to be annihilated, because they were giving a lot of grief, as you mentioned, Shradha, to the Kauravas had given a lot of grief to the Pandavas. And even if the Pandavas were soft-hearted and Arjuna was at the top of that, he says, in the purport, Prabhupada explains that Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. So that's a good thing for us. So even if you are a devotee, which all of you are, if somebody is giving you grief, it's better to tolerate and let Krishna take care of it. Because we know Krishna will not tolerate any mischief. Let Krishna cook, the unripe soul over there. So a couple of questions, yes, no? Should parents tolerate the kids? So Prabhuji at the back said they do all the time, right? Should they do it all the time? Go ahead, use the microphone. No points for not using the microphone.
I said most of the time they don't have a choice.
Yeah, most of the times they don't have a choice, right? That they have to tolerate. But then on certain things you have to sit down, put your foot down, and you have to speak up. And remember, a parent is also a spiritual master. And the job of the spiritual master is to keep on giving the instructions to the disciple, even if the disciple does not listen to the instructions. So similarly, a parent has to keep on telling him, because as Radhika Raman Prabhu was mentioning, he had came here a couple of months ago, and he was saying that some of the kids were interviewed and they said that, what sort of a parent are you, and what sort of parental love did you have for me that you did not say no to me on certain things? So as a parent, it is your duty to tell your child when they are doing wrong and not tolerate. Now you have to, it's not about just tolerating and keeping quiet. It's not about telling them. It's about how you tell them, right? And that's why I always say that sometimes people tell me that, oh, I am, my child, my son or my daughter is my friend. And I always tell them that your kids can never be your friends. They are not your friends. They are your kids. You can be friendly with them. So that when you have to tell them whatever they are doing is wrong, or you have to set limits and boundaries, you can tell them in a nice way, in a friendly way, but they are never your friends. Okay? So, should the spiritual master tolerate? They tolerate all the time. Right? They do tolerate all the time, but then not all the time. They will rebuke you. They will chastise you, and that will be your lucky day when they do that. Beyond toleration. So we're talking about situations that come your way, and so we know you know how to handle it, or we learn how to handle it. We know there are so many goodies for us. We get eligible for liberation. Krishna starts liking us, and our chitrakta goes up. So all these, tolerations are going to do good. But there are certain things that also you can also do beyond tolerating a certain situation. And I was listening to Shubh Vilas Prabhu, is the one who writes on Ramayana? Shubh Vilas. So I was listening to one of his lectures, and there he mentioned that a man came to him and said that, I am tired of my wife. I want to have a divorce. And I just cannot tolerate her nagging. She just nags and nags and nags and nags all the time. And so he said to him that, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you start appreciating your wife's nagging? And so this was completely, a very different solution. So, but anyway, he said, okay, I'll try to do that. And then after some time, he came back again to his counseling session, and he was a changed man. He said that, thank you so much for, giving me that suggestion, that beyond tolerating it, why don't I appreciate and look at other person's point of view as well? So he said that as I started to observe my wife, and his wife was not very educated, she was just 9th grade passed or something like that. And he said that as I started to appreciate and started to observe how she was nagging, I actually came to know that my wife, although she's not very well educated, she's a very good communicator. Her nagging is so precise and so structured and so new every day, that I came to know that she has got good communication skills that can be utilized in some other place, right? She has such a good memory. Like that. And she has attention to details. Right? And then he also came to know that she nagged him because she loved him. Right? So sometimes when these kind of situations arise, you try to look at it from a different, very different perspective as well. So in summary of what we talked about today, we have talked about what it means to tolerate, benefits of tolerating, limits of toleration. Does God tolerate? Should parents, spiritual masters, etc. tolerate? And also having a very different view at situations and go beyond toleration as well. Okay? So all this will become easy for you if you just focus on one thing. You have no connection with this material world. Asango hi ayam purusha. All these reactions to this arise only because we are thinking, I am this body, I am being insulted, I am being neglected, I, and I. Okay? So thank you so much for coming to this class today. Questions, reflections. We have 3 minutes before the Aarti starts. Anything that your reflection basically means that which are easier than questions for you also to formulate, right? Because asking questions is also an art. Anything that you heard in the class today. Will the slides available online? I will make them available to you. You just share your email with me because there's no place online where I can put them. Yeah, go ahead, Apara. Sorry. Oh yes. Okay. Yes. They are technically available online because this class is being recorded and broadcast on Facebook and many places today. Actually, Ramananda Sakaprabhu told me. So to all the newcomers, Hari Bol. And so their slides are part of the recording as well. But if you just want the slides, I'll be more than happy to share them with you. Apara.
I was remembering the translation of 2.15, where it says that one should not be disturbed by happiness or distress. So usually we have the idea that tolerance comes when we are facing miseries, but there's the other side of it where we have to tolerate happiness also.
Absolutely. Very good point. Very good catch. And thanks for reminding me. And it so many times you have you try to go to sleep and you can't sleep because of you're miserable. And so many times you're not able to sleep because you're very happy, right? So you have to learn how to tolerate both, because both of them will, do something to your balance, bring in imbalance. Yeah, very good point. Thank you, Apara. Anything else that you learned?
What's the difference between tolerance and patience?
What is the difference between tolerance and patience?
If there is any difference.
Any ideas on tolerance and patience? Tolerate is somebody is trying to do something to you, their behavior, and you don't like it, right? And I'm going to bring up the patience as well. The capacity to accept or tolerate delay. Basically, it's got to do with the delay. Tolerating is you tolerate so many things. You insulted me, this and that. Patience is like, I give him some work to do and I ask him to do it in 5 minutes because I am able to do it in 5 minutes. He's not able to do it in 5 minutes. I'm not, I'm impatient. And then impatient, I'll be saying certain things to him. I don't like it. I'll get jittery. So that feeling is impatience. And sometimes you have to tolerate your impatience, which would mean that you're feeling that impatience inside you. Let that feeling be there, because feelings will go. This too shall pass. Everything passes away because everything else passed away, right? And you have to tolerate your impatience by way of not saying anything to him nasty, right? Like, you dumb fool, you don't even know this, or it hurts to use your brain, things like that. So patience and yeah, okay. Anju, yeah.
Just Chiranjan Prabhu mentioned a point about tolerance and
patience.
patience.
Is it on?
Yeah. Chiranjan Prabhu mentioned a point about tolerance and patience. So he said that if you have tolerance without patience, then you are in Rajoguna. And if you have patience without tolerance, then you are in Tamoguna.
Tamoguna, very well said.
So both are required actually.
Yes. And patience is also listed in those list of 13 that we have, yeah. Patience is also a virtue of the devotee. Yeah. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then thank you so much for joining the class. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patityanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you, everybody, and Hari Bol to those in the class as well as those who are joining us online. Now, if you will remove the mats, then we can get ready for the Aarti today.
All glories to Shradha Mataji.
Srila Prabhupada ki